Thank you, Ned. A couple of questions about Georgia. I watched your briefing a week ago where you talked about organized violence on Tbilisi's streets when Georgian law enforcement, as many allege, intentionally did not stop the violent mobs attacks on journalists and members of the LGBTQI community. After your briefing, 2 days ago precisely, a cameraman of TV Pirveli, my colleague, Alexandre Lashkarova, this is actually him, he was beaten up by this mob and he died 2 days ago. And so my question would be, in light of these events and the recent past events in Georgia, there are serious concerns that Georgia is diverting towards illiberalism. So is the Secretary Blinken comfortable with that development? And also, what do you have to say to those people on the street right now who are demanding the resignation of the Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili? I might have few follow-ups on that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, first, of course, we extend our deepest condolences to your former colleague, Lexo Lashkarova, to his family, loved ones, and of course, to his colleagues, yourself included. We're closely following the reports concerning his death. We do call for calm and an end to the violence that has already caused one tragic loss of life, in this case, the death of your colleague. The safety of every Georgian journalist and the credibility of democracy in Georgia, in fact, require that every individual who attacked peaceful protesters and journalists on July 5th and 6th, or those who incited violence, they must be identified. They should be arrested and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. We remind Georgia's leaders and its law enforcement of their responsibility to protect all of those exercising their constitutional rights. We remind them of their responsibility to protect journalists exercising the freedom of the press. And we encourage all Georgians, including Georgian officials, to publicly condemn this type of violence that has no place in a democracy. We proudly advance efforts around the globe to protect LGBTQI populations from violence and abuse, criminalization, discrimination, and stigma, and we seek to empower local LGBTQI plus movements and persons. We firmly oppose abuses against the LGBTQI plus community, and of course, in this case, the brutal violence against your former colleague, your now deceased colleague. When it comes to the Prime Minister and his future, that of course is a decision for the Georgian people.
Thank you. My sources on the Capitol Hill are telling me that there are talks on imposing personal sanctions against those officials in the Georgian government who were directly responsible for the violence we all saw on the July 5th. Is this an idea that State Department is also entertaining? How realistic that could be? And very lastly, I would like to know what you think about the responsibility of the opposition political parties in Georgia who are leading those people on the streets. Thank you.
Well, we have a number of tools to hold accountable those responsible in some way for human rights abuses, for violence around the world. Sanctions are indeed one of those tools. As you know, we don't preview sanctions before we enact them, but we are following the situation very closely, and we're committed to seeing to it that those responsible for this are held accountable. When it comes to all political actors in Georgia, again, we urge them to very publicly condemn this violence. When it comes to the Georgian government, would reiterate our calls for a thorough investigation of this that leads to the perpetrators of this horrific crime being brought to justice.
Thank you.